Today is Thursday, September 21st, 2023, and this is the Dunkley Report. Ukraine's president is accusing Russia of undermining all norms of war and the United Nations Charter. The allegation was aired Wednesday at a meeting of the UN Security Council. President Volodymyr Zelensky told the council that his proposal to end the 19-month war starts with adherence to the Charter that ensures the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all 193 UN member nations. He stressed that restoration of all Ukrainian territory is the key to peace. Before the meeting started, there was intense speculation about whether Zelensky and Russia's top diplomat, Sergei Lavrov, would clash, speak, or totally avoid each other. But no confrontation happened because Zelensky left the council soon after his address. Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi says that his country will never give up its right to have peaceful nuclear energy and urged the United States to demonstrate in a verifiable fashion that it wants to return to the 2015 nuclear deal. Addressing the annual high-level meeting of the UN General Assembly on Tuesday, Raisi said the American withdrawal from the deal trampled on U.S. commitments and was an inappropriate response to Iran's fulfillment of its commitments. Then President Donald Trump unilaterally pulled the U.S. out of the accord in 2018, restoring crippling sanctions. Iran began breaking the terms a year later, and formal talks to try to restart the deal collapsed in August 2022. Azerbaijan claimed full control of the breakaway Nagorno-Karabakh region after local Armenian forces there agreed to lay down their weapons following the latest outbreak of fighting in the decades-long separatist conflict. Authorities in the ethnic Armenian region declared that local self-defense forces will disarm and disband under a Russia-mediated ceasefire. They also said representatives of the region will start talks Thursday with the Baku government on Nagorno-Karabakh's reintegration into Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev trumpeted victory in a televised address to the nation. Pro-Armenian forces have been weakened by a blockade of the southern Caucasus Mountains region that is recognized internationally as being part of Azerbaijan. A clergy sex abuse scandal involving Chile's most notorious pedophile, the priest Fernando Karadima, shook the South American country in 2010 in a way never seen in Latin America. The case prompted a response from the Vatican. Dozens of victims decided to speak about their own abuses, and the percentage of people who distrust the Catholic Church has risen since then. With time, many survivors became activists and created organizations to defend children's rights, prevent abuse, and support victims like themselves. While still trying to heal in a country wounded by human rights violations during the dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet, they hope President Gabriel Boric will keep his promise to create a Truth, Justice, and Reparation Commission. The news of a ceasefire in Nagorno-Karabakh, a day after Azerbaijan shelled Armenian forces, toned down fears of a third full-scale war over the region. But it also left significant unresolved questions. Under the agreement mediated by Russian peacekeeping forces, the separatist authorities of the region made sizable concessions, disbanding the region's defense forces and withdrawing Armenia's military contingents. But the question of Nagorno-Karabakh's final status remains open and will be at the center of talks beginning Thursday. Emotions and ethnic pride are intense on both sides, with little sign of compromise in the previous 3 decades of conflict that killed tens of thousands of soldiers and displaced hundreds of thousands of civilians. A UN-backed panel investigating human rights violations in Venezuela says the South American country's government has intensified efforts to curtail democratic freedoms with use of threats, surveillance, and harassment as President Nicolas Maduro faces a re-election contest next year. The latest report from the International Fact-Finding Mission authorized by the UN Human Rights Council was published Wednesday. It notes the government shifted tactics with the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic and increased its use of targeted repression against politicians, labor leaders, journalists, human rights defenders, and other real or perceived opponents. The government's targets have been subjected to detention, surveillance, threats, defamatory campaigns, and arbitrary criminal proceedings. Thousands of Libyans have lost family members, friends, and neighbors in the devastating floods that engulfed the country's east. Many survivors are still sheltering inside the wrecked city of Derna, waiting for word that the bodies of their loved ones have been found. They are calling for accountability and reconstruction of their city, but many are doubtful an investigation by local authorities would uncover the truth. The floods were caused by heavy rains from Mediterranean Storm Daniel on the evening of September 10th. Overnight, the surging waters overwhelmed the two dams, sending a wall of water through Derna. Thousands of people were killed, and thousands others remain missing. India has advised its citizens to be careful when traveling to Canada, as a rift between the two nations widens further in the wake of Ottawa's allegations that India may have been involved in the killing of a Sikh separatist leader in suburban Vancouver. The Foreign Ministry in New Delhi issued an updated travel advisory on Wednesday, urging its nationals, and especially those studying in the North American country, to be cautious because of growing anti-India activities and politically condoned hate crimes. Ottawa and New Delhi are key strategic partners on security and trade, but are now locked in a diplomatic tussle following Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's allegations. King Charles III has praised France's wonderful welcome at a grand dinner held in his honor in the sumptuous Hall of Mirrors of the Palace of Versailles. The state visit is meant to highlight the renewed friendship between France and the UK. Charles and Camilla were greeted with great pomp Wednesday in a ceremony at Paris's Arc de Triomphe by French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte. Charles's trip was postponed from March amid widespread demonstrations against President Emmanuel Macron's pension changes. A Mexican railway operator has announced it is suspending train runs in the northern part of the country because so many migrants are climbing aboard freight cars and getting hurt in the process. The Ferromex Railway said Tuesday that it has temporarily ordered a halt to 60 trains. The company said in a statement that, in recent days, there have been about a half-dozen regrettable cases of injuries or deaths among migrants hopping freight cars. The company, part of Grupo Mexico, said some even hopped on moving freight cars with children, despite the grave danger that represents. It comes as migrants are increasingly desperate to reach the U.S. border. Today's news was reported by the Associated Press. This has been the World News for Thursday, September 21st, 2023. Thanks again for joining us at the Dunkley Report.